There we go. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, God is one. Amen. It's a truly beautiful morning here. It started off extremely chilly and quite a thick frost everywhere. In fact, by about 7 o'clock, 6:30 even, last night, there was quite a thick frost all over the grass and in the trees, but it was made up for by us being able to see the most magnificent starscape. It's amazing here, nighttime, on a clear night, and was very clear last night and first thing this morning. It's this extraordinary sight of the Milky Way slashing across the sky, heading off towards places like Derby over there. So really, really quite amazing and beautiful. Apart from that, it's remained really sunny, and there's quite literally not a single cloud in the sky at the moment, which is just beautiful to see. Let's see who's here. Thekla is breaking all the rules and staying up. And who else we have? We've got Gary and Christine and Anthony. Good morning, God bless you. And Judith, Elizabeth, Phoebe, Jim Bob, George. Very good. Good morning, everybody. God bless you all. Today we're going to be looking at John chapter 1. Oh, we've got Stella as well. Together a whole series of hearts and crosses and either clapped or rubbing hands. And Beverly, Ian. Yeah, the smell of frosty morning air, Jim Bob, is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? I took 2 videos this morning, one just of the general view. It was absolutely silent when I began, except for the odd rustle of the bird and Roger making his normal clucking sounds and telling the girls off. And then he got left behind as the chickens realized the cats hadn't eaten all their food and started charging across the front lawn up to here to go and steal the chickens' food, which was very funny. Funny to see them doing it. They know where it is, and they jump up there, and they soon scoff the lot. So the cats don't hurry up to it, and they miss out completely. So I took, anyway, to begin with, it's very quiet. And then, of course, about halfway through the minute that I was going to take the film, I took another one, but it was even worse. The farmer started moving his cattle with great shouts and whoops and revving up his, he's got a sort of, it's a 4-wheel thing. He goes all over the place and with a little cabinet on top. It's like a bit like a golf buggy. Anyway, there we go. It's just amusing to see him. So peeping his horn and all the rest of the cows begin to bellow like mad. So from being absolutely quiet, it was actually very noisy. Anyway, so you've got 2 videos, the price of one only 14 seconds long, and the thieving chickens are amongst them. So you might like to go and look at those later on. Anyway, here we go. Before everybody gives up and says, what's the point of watching this nonsense? I notice we've got Chris, good morning, and John McGrath, good morning, from a cold Northern Ireland, John, yes. I'm looking forward to talking to you properly before very long. Okay, so John chapter 1, verses 12 and 13. Well, let me start by reading verse 11 again, because these are in stark contrast with the last verse. Verse 11, he came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who are born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. Several slight mistranslations there, but never mind. You might have heard the cuckoo clock going cuckoo, and it's not 1:30 anything at the moment. The cuckoo thinks it's around about midday at the moment. This is because the hands have fallen off, and because of lockdown, I've not been able to take the poor cuckoo to Anthony for him to mend it. And before Anthony asks again, no, we don't have any tools to do with the cuckoo clock. So don't know what to do about that. Anyway, verse 12 and 13, they're in great contrast to verse 11, which says that his own do not receive him. And then it carries on. Just read it again. So, as many as received him, to them he gave right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name. St. John Chrysostom says about this passage here, he says, the God desires not an unwilling and forced service, a sort of slavery, for none who comes unwillingly to God devotes himself wholly to God. In other words, you have to be, it's free will. He gives you the free will to do as you wish. Thank you, Christos. Free will to do as you wish. But, St. John carries on, slave or free, Greek or barbarian, wise or unwise, women or men, it's interesting, he does put it that way around, young or aged, all are made meet, that's correct for the honor. To them he gave power to become children of God. So that's very interesting. By the way, Natalia, good morning means God's morning. Margaret O'Shea has shown us a turkey and some sparklers. There are a good deal fewer turkeys now than there were. Happy Thanksgiving to all Americans. Turkeys, cherry cake, bits and bobs, and those corn things. Shouldn't there be pumpkin pie as well? Is that this time of the year? So let's go through that bit by bit. Okay, the first bit there. As many as received him. So to go back to St. John Chrysostom, this is something you can choose to do. You can choose to receive God. You can choose not to receive God. It's a bit like that famous Holman Hunt painting, The Light of the World. You'll remember that. It now hangs, I think there are 3 copies of it, but one of them hangs in the Anglican, the Church of England Cathedral in London, St. Paul's Cathedral. It's huge. And it shows the Lord, looking very 1930s, knocking on the door. And the door itself has got no doorknob on it. And he's standing there holding the light. There are lots of flowers and other bits and bobs around. Apparently, when it was painted, queues and queues of people snaked round the whole area to come and see this, because it meant so much to them. I'll put a link to it somewhere or other. But the doorknob, like the doorknob of hell, which I think Christos correctly told me, that quotation I gave yesterday was actually from C.S. Lewis. That the doorknob, the lock of hell is on the inside. So is this lock as well. So Christ stands at the door and knocks, but it's up to you to decide whether you're going to receive him. The doorknob is on the inside. There's no doorknob on the outside. Thank you, Tracy, for whole slices of pumpkin pie. It's 10 years since I had pumpkin pie of that sort. It was very nice too. Cheatingly made by Nina, who got the ingredients out of the can. Anyway, so you have that. So first of all, we ourselves have to decide to receive it. Okay, we have to receive the light. As many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God. Well, first of all, let's stop at that word right. Actually, I think I've done it the other way around. Have I? No, I've done it this way around. He gave the right. The word in Greek is exusyan, which means power, right, or authority. Okay? So he gave them the authority. He gave them the power. He gave them the ability. But you notice the way that these are things that have to be taken for yourself. He doesn't force it upon you. It's like when somebody is baptized, you have the authority to have everything that the church has to offer. And by far and away, the majority of people don't take any of it at all. It's like somebody leaving you an enormous amount of money in a bank account somewhere, hundreds of billions of dollars, say. But you refuse ever to cash a check. You refuse even to go to the bank to look at it and decide what you're going to do this. Okay, so this is an interesting thing. God does not force it on you. You have the right to it, but it's up to you to make use of that. Okay, it's a gift as well. The gift having been bestowed, you then have the right and the ability and the power, the authority to make use of it. But you can't take it without use. You cannot make yourself into a child of God. It is God who makes you into one of his children. Okay, so that word exusyan is really important. You see that Father Hananiah on here says Camille Katrib. Good morning, Father. Tomorrow is St. Jacob the Persian. Yes, we will be having a liturgy for St. James the Persian, St. Jacob the Persian. And perhaps, Father, you could pass on my love to the nuns at that monastery. That would be very great. And I'll be thinking of you. Presumably you'll be there. I shall be here. We're going to have a serenia, a vigil tonight here. But unfortunately, my parish duties calls, and instead of having a vigil, I will have a parish council meeting. Never mind. Lovely. I shall look forward to it every fibre of my being. So if I can prefer to run away. Okay, so power, and then it says to become. Now this is interesting. The word is actually in a sort of present continuous. The power to be becoming, carry on coming. Good morning, Natalia. So it's a process, okay? And the word is gennesthαι, which is interesting because it rhymes with the word born, which we'll have later on, to become and born. You can have, there's a sort of play on words here, which John is making use of. So to become what? To allow yourself to carry on becoming, to carry on making yourself into. So you are being constructed by yourself through the grace of God, because you have that authority, into tecna, theu, children of God. It's not οσοι, sons of God, eu, sons of God, but it is tecna, children. So it's a neuter plural, children of God. This means that it's open to both men and women, which is really interesting. And previously, the Jews would have heard this and been quite surprised and shocked by it, because they would have thought of themselves being children of Israel, yes, but they would have thought themselves being primarily sons in that context, not sons and daughters. Okay, children of God, male and female. And that's interesting. So they are made, okay? He gave them right to become children of God. By adoption, of course. He adopts us. He gives us the right by adoption. And then you go through the process of divinization, embodiment in English, theosis in Greek, divinization, deification in Latin. Okay? And that means you become children of God, and you become inheritors of everything that Jesus Christ is already by nature. So what he is by nature, we become through grace, okay, through the energies of God. This is very important. Now, he gave them power. St. John Chrysostom talks about this power as well when commenting on this passage. I'm going to read it to you. So St. John Chrysostom says about the power, that this power is exercised by us in this case. It is by our free will working with God, we call that synergy, working with God, by keeping our baptism untarnished. No one can take this from us unless we ourselves rob ourselves of it. Okay? So you can rob yourself of the ability to become a son or daughter of God, a child of God, but nobody else can take it from you. And this spiritual birth, as we know, is through baptism. We can see that nice and clearly. In fact, in the reading that we had today in the refectory here in the monastery, which was in Acts chapter 10, which is the calling of Cornelius, well, the baptism of Cornelius, where it's very interesting. Cornelius is told to go and get St. Peter. St. Peter is shown that nothing now is going to be unclean, including Cornelius. The 3 men knock at the door, and he goes down, and you know the rest of the story. But the important part is that Cornelius and his whole family receive the Holy Spirit, and Peter still baptizes. So the baptism is still very important. Okay. We carry on with that same verse. He gave them the right to become children of God to those who believe in his name. The name of somebody in the Hebrew mind is very important. When you say that name, it brings them into the present, into where you are yourself. So those believing in his name, again, like becoming earlier on, this is a present active verse. Not a once for all belief in his name. You don't believe in his name and say, oh, well, I believed on a certain day, and therefore I'm saved. It is believing in his name. Not a once for all, but a continuous action of believing. You carry on believing. I believe, I carry on believing. And by carrying on believing and remaining in belief, which is the important part, by doing so, we become joined with the eternal word. That is Jesus, the name, the Savior, the name, the Logos, the name, the Son of God. Okay? How, you might ask? And indeed, not only we ask, but also people like St. John Chrysostom, St. Augustine, St. Bede, St. Theophylact, and various others ask the same question. And of course, Nicodemus as well, Nicodemus, asked the same question, how can I be born again? And St. John the Evangelist carries on, who are born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. Okay, so born, not of blood, which means, actually it says in Greek, not of bloods. So the male and female bloods working together, not of bloods. Not through descent, in other words, not through your ethnicity, not through your parents being Jewish, or not through any other accident of your birth. You don't become saved because you happen to be, let's say, British. You don't happen to be saved because you happen to be born to a certain group of people, a tribe or an ethnicity or a nation or a race or whatever it might be. That is not relevant in this case. You're born not through the will of the sarkos, the flesh. Sarkos is usually negatively used within the Christian tradition. You have soma, the body, which is usually positively used, and sarx, the flesh, which is usually a negative one. And in this case here, not born in the flesh, not through the will of the flesh, by ordinary birth, the way that we are born ordinarily. Nor by the will, it says in this translation, of man. Aner it is, but really in this context it should say of a husband. Not born through the will of a husband, through some husband's decision to have children. And back in those days, it would have been the husband's decision whether or not to have any children, by giving himself or withholding himself from his wife. So not through descent, not through birth, not through the will of any person, but born of God. And here we have, whereas before we had, he gave the power to become children of God, here we have born, egennithithan, a little long word there in Greek, and I didn't put any accents in it, so I can't see where they come. But that also, you can hear the gen part in there, gennes, and gennesthαι earlier on. So it's a play on sounds. So the idea of becoming and being born are meant to link together. Okay? And then St. John Chrysostom continues. John the Evangelist points out that having been taught the vileness and inferiority of our former birth, which is through blood and flesh and the will of man, the vileness of that birth, and understanding the loftiness and nobleness of the second, which is through grace, which are the energies of God, so through the direct presence of God working with it. Okay? The energies of God, we might hence receive great knowledge, worthy of being bestowed by him who begat us, that is God, and after this to show forth much zeal. Okay? I just see what Jim Bob has said there. Is the man versus husband thing equal to anthropos versus andros in the Greek? Yes, it is, yeah. So if it said, had it been the will of man, the word anthropos would have been used there instead of aner. So much more like it's more husband really, okay, than even man, andros, male. Okay, so that's a really important little gloss there that St. John Chrysostom puts on there. Because of the loftiness of our birth, not through our parents' agency, not through flesh, not through inheritance or anything like that, but being born actually directly of God. That is the important thing. And understanding this to be the center of what God is giving us, that we're born to be children of him through his agency, then this should show forth much zeal in ourselves. Actually, I think that John Chrysostom puts it better than I did. Worthy of being bestowed on him who begat us, and after this show forth much zeal. So understanding what God has done for us should bring up much zealousness within ourselves. Okay? Let's see who is saying what. Christos gives us the nice words in Greek, and you can actually see in that what he has written there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words in. You've got the word there about becoming, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words from the back. You've got, no, you haven't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words in from the back. You've got the other word, and those two words then you can see from there that they have got, what am I talking about? It's the last word there. The last word there. I've gone mad here. So 10 words in, the last word there are meant to rhyme with each other. Okay? Thecla sent us a whole meal, complete with pudding. And Margaret, yes, the beautiful painting of Holman Hunt's The Light of the World in St. Paul's. Very good indeed. Jim Bob, we'll be able to answer that. Christos, don't quite get this. So those who do not believe cease to be children of God. Now, that's an interesting thing. Actually, I haven't said anything about that. St. John Chrysostom and also St. Augustine both talk about this too. And they mention that at this point in here, in this bit of St. John the Evangelist's witness, he doesn't say anything about those people who either don't believe or cease to believe. Okay? But St. Augustine more or less believes at that. St. John Chrysostom, though, carries on. St. Augustine, interestingly enough, is more concerned about the inaccuracy of the Latin translation and the poor grammar of the translator. He doesn't like it at all. He goes on and on about it. He make all these mistakes. Don't know quite how it's spoken in Latin, but anyway, there we go. North African accent back then. And St. John Chrysostom, though, he says, okay, is punishment enough, just to decide you're not going to be a child of God? Imagine what that means in comparison with choosing anything else, to choose the world instead of the infinity that is God. That is punishment enough. Imagine the distress of the person who discovers, after all, that he or she should have gone for becoming a son or daughter of God. A tecna theo. Okay? That is enough. St. John Chrysostom also says, but imagine if you've become a child of God through baptism, and you've then thrown that away, you've robbed yourself of it. How deeply robbed you will feel of it when the time comes. Now that's interesting, because he then continues to say, look further on into the gospel, and you'll see that those people are subjected to wailing and gnashing of teeth. When they realize what they have robbed themselves of, that is hell. Okay? Okay, let's finish that there before we let's see what else is going on here. Aner is also man, Vera. So it's an old word for man, but really in this context here, we use as a husband. Albertus, God bless you. Maybe a window in the lockdown so you can meet before the nativity. Anthony, yes, I very much hope so. With any luck, the local pub will be open. We can go and drink tea or something in there. Elizabeth, God bless you. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to all those people. Well, when we ask for God's mercy, do ask for His grace. Our mercy and grace the same. Mercy, really, eleon, we can think of mercy most accurately, I think, of being God's loving kindness. You think about it in that way. Okay? Tracy Thekla says, if people don't mind, please keep Heidi in your prayers. She's on a ventilator, COVID, in a coma. Cousin of my friend, thank you. We shall certainly pray for her. Okay. And as Judy says, we'll keep Heidi, your father, and Andrew, and also Thekla. Okay? Definitely in our prayers. And also Angelos, if you remember to pray for him. That would be good. I haven't got the latest news of Andrew, but I'm sure they will do before very long. Okay, that's 28 minutes at 10, so I think we're doing quite well here. We shall soon be getting nearer 10 minutes, which is the whole idea, the original idea. Okay, tomorrow it'll be interesting to see what we make of verse 14. So I dare say we won't get any further than one verse there. But then after that, hopefully things like they did in Mark will begin to open out a bit. And instead of chewing the end of a pencil and all our nails and things, I did actually find myself chewing a nail over this earlier on today. We shall see what happens. Okay, God bless you. Good night to Thekla and various others over the other side of the Atlantic. And God bless you. Good morning. Good all sorts of other things to other people. I hope that John is finding the weather better today than it was yesterday in Ireland, because purely selfishly, because that weather usually gets blown in this direction. Okay, God bless you. Happy Thanksgiving to the East Coast. Yeah. Have a nice day, Judith. Just think of those poor turkeys. God bless them. I wanted to have a pet turkey here. But you know what? Buying a living turkey is a really, really, really tricky job. You have to be the sort of turkey that can actually survive. The big white ones, they grow so big their legs break. They die of heart failure. So you have to have a bronze one or a black one. I can't remember what black Norfolk, I think they're called. But finding one around here is not possible. They sell them in Norfolk, but I haven't been over to Norfolk recently. Okie dokie. Father Hananiah, give everybody my love, please, and have a very good I imagine we're having a Serenia tonight for St. Jacob. I'll keep you in mind. Your prayers and blessing.